Again, thanks for watching, downloading, and listening to Picture Lock, where we focus on film. Now, I tend to like getting bad news out of the way before hearing the good, so let's jump into our top 5 least anticipated films. It's quite easy to start because we all actually had the same in at number 5, The Hobbit, Desolation.
Really? All right, guys.
Hamilton, why is this your number 5?
It's my number 5 because I love Lord of the Rings, I love The Hobbit, and I was just disappointed by the previous Hobbit film. I still haven't decided whether it was the high frame rate that really distracted me, or the adding in of characters, or what exactly it was, but I just was really let down by it, and I'm hopeful that this will raise the bar. The trailer looks great. We get Benedict Cumberbatch as Smaug, and he's amazing.
Right.
Great villain voice. But at the same time, I'm just really nervous of it being another letdown.
Yeah, definitely.
So, sort of a cautionary 5.
Yeah.
No, I mean, just like you, I love the first 3 Lord of the Rings. Obviously, I mean, they made the AFI Top 100, one of the newer movies to make that. So, I mean, they're going to be talked about forever. But when Jackson went back and signed on to do the 3 prequels now of The Hobbit, it felt kind of like that George Lucas going back and doing the Star Wars prequels now,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to just leave well enough alone. And to me, actually, the real issue is not so much that. It is, the first 3 Lord of the Rings were, each movie was from another book, right?
Yeah,
And each of those were like divided into two books, I believe.
Yep.
Right.
And so, yes, they were each 3-hour fantasy epics, but they had their own contained books they were based off of. The Hobbit was one smaller book that now they're making that into 3-hour movies.
Right.
So when the last Hobbit that came out last year, what was it, Incredible Journey, it felt like by the time the whole movie ended, it felt like we were just at the end of Act 1 because it's one book stretched over 3 movies.
Right,
so you had it took about what could have been done in 10 minutes to get into the catalyst of them going on the journey took about 40 minutes with a bunch of song and dance in the in the Shire.
Right.
So it just felt how many hours of this world can we sit in? I guess is what I'm saying.
Definitely. I mean, the thing about us all agreeing on the same thing is I really have nothing else to say. I feel the same way. It's like taking a short 10-minute film that would be amazing and then stretching it out over feature length. I mean, it's just no point to me. So, yeah, that's my number 5 as well.
Although, I will say I am looking forward to Gollum because he was cool to watch in the prequel. He's one of the best characters of all time.
Yeah.
Of course.
Definitely.
I don't know if it's worth 2 more movies, but...
Right. All right. So, number 4, Jason. What's your number 4?
It is a little time travel romance movie called About Time. Obviously, all disclaimer on all these. We haven't seen these ones because that's why it's the anticipated in our least anticipated.
Right.
But,
Right.
Cool concept, but something we've seen done a million times. The notion is that this guy can, go in. His dad tells him he can go into a dark place, close his eyes, and transport himself, back in time, forward in time. To me, that sounded exact. Not only we got Back to the Future, Butterfly Effect, all that, but there's even the way they roll it out. There's a couple times where in the trailer at least, where the guy, he's out with a girl, he says the wrong thing, it doesn't go well, he goes back in time and gets to redo it again, and suddenly they're in bed together. Groundhog Day all over again, really. I mean, that's what it is.
Right.
So, I mean, I'd rather just... I'll definitely give it a chance. I'll always give any movie a chance, but to me, I'd rather just pop in and watch some Bill Murray and Andy McDowell. I mean, that Groundhog Day is one of those timeless movies, and to me, it's just like the same thing, rehashed.
Right. And I think with Groundhog Day, it's one of those films where, like, you just have amazing Bill Murray holding it down, and the comedic genius, the comedic timing, all that good stuff. But like you said, it's kind of like something that's a story that's already been told and been done.
Done perfect.
Well, it's
like one of the most original scripts of all time.
Exactly.
Anyway.
So, Hamilton, what about you? Number 4.
My number 4 is Delivery Man, which is the American remake of Starbuck, which I actually have at home right now, waiting to watch. I've heard it's great, and I just don't like Vince Vaughn, so I have a feeling it's going to be an American Vince Vaughn version of a movie that was already done really well. I could be wrong. We'll see when we see it, but that's why it's my number 4.
All right, cool. Well, jumping off of you in terms of remakes, my number 4 is Carrie. Obviously, this is a new film with Kimberly Pierce as director and Chloe Grace Moretz as Carrie. Now, to me, I'm not a big fan of remakes. Carrie has been done before, and this is actually an American film that is being remade. Now, Kimberly Pierce is a longtime friend of Brian De Palma, who directed the original Carrie, and so there may be something there that's a little interesting in terms of the friendship, and maybe she talked to him or something. I don't know how that works. Like, Jason, if I saw like one of your films and I was like, hey Jason, what is it, almost 30 years later, like, hey,
76, so yeah,
Jason, I really loved Carrie, I'm just gonna remake it. To me it doesn't make any sense. And I think that there was something about Sissy Spacek as the main character with her unattractive attractiveness, if that makes sense. Like, she's just a little bit odd, like a little odd, but at the same time, there's something about her that's just a little bit cute. Yeah, exactly. And I think she did such a great job. Versus Chloe Moretz, like, she's like the girl you'd have a crush on in high school. You know what I mean? Like, how are you supposed to be like, oh, get away from me, Carrie? Like,
right.
I don't really know if that's gonna stand up. And even if you look at like the posters coming up for the movie, she looks like a model with blood on her face. Like, it doesn't really. But if you look at like the original, like, you have this juxtaposition of Sissy Spacek, with the flowers and everything, and then covered in blood, and it just works. Like, it looks creepy even now versus and I don't know what it is about Chloe where she wants to just do all these remakes with Let the Right One In and now Carrie. But yeah, definitely Carrie is my number 4.
Yeah, no, I can totally see it. I mean, there's going to be a lot of horror. The people that are really the horror buffs are going to want to just see it and dissect it. But I mean, I'm kind of, and I'll definitely watch it. But I'm kind of with you. I mean, especially your point about Sissy Spacek. The whole notion and that famous opening scene in the gym locker room shower where she gets her first period. It's the idea that the whole notion is that the reason she goes off is because they're picking on her, and I can't see them picking on Chloe in the same way.
Exactly.
And what a lot of people probably don't remember is that the famous blood scene, the blood falling on her at the prom, the guy that's up there rigging it, John Travolta.
Yeah.
You forget that, right?
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
A year before Saturday Night Fever, and Grease was right after that. So I don't know. And Piper Laurie is her
exactly.
intense mom. It's just one of those iconic movies. It's hard to redo.
Right, and it's even the same thing with Julianne Moore now being the mother. Like, it's the same thing. Like, Piper was kind of like that, still that unattractive, attractive. And I'm sorry, Piper and Chloe, if you're listening, I'm sorry, Piper and Sissy, if you're listening, I mean, no harm. But it was something about you guys in those roles. Like, that's why you got casted. But Julianne Moore is, she's an attractive woman. Like, she's not really scary. Like, I can see maybe, how, goodness, what's her name? She was the witch in Snow White. The Huntsman.
No. Oh, the other one. Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron, thank you. They used her, like, the beauty to create the ugliness.
Right.
But in this situation, yeah, okay. So let's move on. Number 3, Hamilton, what do you have?
Number 3, I've got Las Vegas, which to me looks like The Expendables meets The Hangover. And that does not sound like a good combination to me in any way. It's a bunch of older, well-known actors, De Niro, Morgan Freeman, going off for sort of like a last bachelor party thing in Las Vegas, and it looks like it's sort of a tired formula, older people doing younger people things. It's funny, and that just doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah.
It's kind of the senior citizen version of The Hangover.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. But haven't we done that already in terms of, I don't know if you want to say like
bucket
bucket list.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which was also Morgan Freeman.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely feel you on that one. Jason, how about you?
For my number 3, this actually could be kind of controversial, and I think this might be one of the ones you think where we might be a little different on here. But I'm not that jacked to see Thor. That's it, isn't it? No.
Yeah.
To me, it's funny because Iron Man 3 was one of my favorite movies of the summer. I thought it was really well done. Shane Black and Robert Downey Jr. and the little kid doing the buddy comedy back and forth. Like,
Right.
I'm never, why does everyone abandon me? He's like, stop being a wimp. It's just a great back and forth. But I'm starting to reach the point with the TV show too, and it's almost like an oversaturation to me of the Marvel universe. It's like there's a great steak dinner, but if you eat it every night, you start getting a little sick of the steak. So
Right.
So I mean, the first Iron Man was great. Avengers is one of the highest grossing movies of all time. Iron Man 3 was great. It's just, to me, the whole phase 2. I can't get as jacked up about it as I was first, but.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to him wielding that hammer again. So.
Yeah, definitely. I can understand you on that one. It's one of those ones that I'm in the middle on, but like you said, I think we're starting to get a little bit of overkill. I mean, I'm the first one there every single film, no matter what. But to me, just in terms of the Marvel universe, I don't really relate to Thor as much. I like Iron Man, who is just a man with a suit.
Same
I like
with Batman.
Exactly,
I like Marvel,
Batman.
but yeah.
Exactly, just a man who dons on the suit. But these gods that are almost impenetrable. I don't know. So, my number 3 is Her. And I already talked about this in the last episode. I think that Joaquin Phoenix is an amazing actor. Spike Jonze is a great director, and I tend to trust their judgment. But, a film about a guy falling in love with his operating system, to me, it's just a little weird, and I just don't, I'm really at the end of this movie, do they live happily ever after? There's some kind of disconnect right there. That it doesn't intrigue me, and I'll probably check it out, but I'm gonna feel weird watching it. I understand that he had this bad relationship with his ex, or I guess he was divorced or something like that. And I think there was a film in which there was one where it was like a love triangle between a man, a computer, and a woman. So there was flesh and blood in it, but there's no flesh and blood. And yes, you can fall in love with Scarlett Johansson's voice, but I don't know about falling in love with an operating system.
Yeah, I'm a little on the fence. It's definitely going to be an offbeat one. The interesting thing is, has everybody talking, just the notion of it. So maybe right there is a little bit to it. But I think it's going to be one of those maybe that whether it succeeds or not, it's hard to tell from the trailer. We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be one that maybe, in film classes when they talk about more of social commentary, different genre trends of man versus machine, it's going to get brought up as like that, What would happen if the astronaut fell in love with HAL 9000 or, something like that.
Right.
But singing Daisy as he's getting unplugged. But that'll woo anybody.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, with the Terminator or Blade Runner, I feel like that someone it'll mention it maybe in some textbook somewhere down the road, but I don't know if it's in terms of quality. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my number 2 is Tyler Perry's Medea Christmas. Listen, I get into so many arguments with people about Tyler Perry, right? As a businessman, oh my goodness, I respect him to the T. Business, he has it down pat. This man cranks out scripts, TV shows, films, all that kind of stuff. But as a filmmaker, I just don't think he has, what it takes. I mean, it's like he fell into filmmaking, but I'm kind of on the side of Spike in the argument in terms of filmmaking. Not everyone can just be a filmmaker. I think Medea is a little bit played out at this point. It's the same old jokes, and she's getting just a little more out there each time. But he obviously has the crowd that follows, and I myself am going to watch the film, but it's probably going to be on DVD. It's one of those guilty pleasures that I can't. I can't. I hate it because I was I gotta pay it forward. Especially him as a black filmmaker. For me, I gotta support. It's just this is my thing. But like, it's just gotten to the point where I'm like, no, I cannot, spend my money to go see this film. So I'll get it on Netflix. But Tyler Perry's A Madea Christmas, that's my number 2. No way.
Well said.
Yeah.
So my number 2, I have Escape Plan with Stallone and Schwarzenegger.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I should give it a chance. It's just those two and another shoot 'em up movie. You mentioned the Expendables earlier. I mean, I guess the notion of the gimmick, I guess, or the novelty of seeing both of those, action legends together in one movie is already worn off because they were in Expendables 2 together, right? So that part of it, the novelty of that's gone, and I feel like they've kind of revealed themselves as sort of one-trick ponies at this point, and I mean, Rocky is one of my all-time favorite movies,
right.
all time, and Terminator and T2 are going to go down in that genre history. Sort of the action sci-fi. But at this point, I mean, we've seen them kind of in these same roles over and over again, so I'm not too excited for that one.
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah. I actually, I don't know. It's one of those things again.
I think it could be fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
I'm kind of on the middle on that one. I can see where you're coming from, but let me tell you this. Honestly, I am excited to kind of see. Most of the time, Hollywood spits you out, right? Like, once it's done with you, it spits you out. And these guys are at the age where it's time to, like, they should be spat out. But they're reinventing themselves. The Expendables, I mean, that's one of those movies for guys who like movies.
Right.
Like, shoot 'em up, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I
see it at the drive-in.
Exactly. And it's the same thing with Escape Plan. I feel you 100% wholeheartedly. It's kind of like, we kind of lost the novelty here.
Right.
But at the same time, it's one of those ones that I want to see. And at the same time, like, I'm rooting for them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they're reinventing themselves and keeping themselves not necessarily A-list relevant, but where, hey, we can still bring people into the theaters regardless of our age and everything like that. And so for that, like, I'm willing to go see it. So
see, I'm pulling for him for that reason too, but I don't know. In terms of like the reinventing, I don't know, because Schwarzenegger, I think they're thinking about doing another Terminator in 2015.
Yeah, I did hear
and
that.
Stallone has done 6 Rockies and just came back as Rambo, so I don't know how much they're actually reinventing. Although the last Rocky was probably one of the better ones.
Isn't he doing another boxing movie
with De Niro?
too? Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of the idea is to have Rocky and Raging Bull going at it. It's not those
Right.
actual characters.
Right.
It's like Grudge Match or something. Which,
Yes.
But to me, that's more my Stallone guilty pleasure I want to see than the other one. But.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Hamilton, how about you?
My number 2 is also A Madea Christmas.
Nice.
Madea, it doesn't appeal to me at all.
Yeah.
I know I'm not Tyler Perry's target audience, but I just never got the appeal of that type of humor, and to me, it just seems like it's getting more and more and more ridiculous, and not something I would go see.
Yeah, I feel you. All right, so 5, 4, 3, 2 brings us to number 1. Jason, let's start with you.
I also said a Madea Christmas. So I think we've pretty much covered the bases on that.
Yeah. Right.
I think it's just kind of played out at this point.
Yeah.
There you go. You stole all my stuff.
That's okay. At the end of the day, let me get camera 2 right here, please, Charles. Listen, Tyler, if you are watching or listening, or like years from now, I'm trying to get a job and I'm trying to work with you, or maybe you just ran across this podcast. Listen, Tyler, like I said, I love you as a businessman. I think you're amazing. And some of the films that you've made, let's sit down, let's have a chat. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. Let's talk before you make the next film. Okay. So the number 1 for you, Hamilton, go ahead.
Number 1 for me would have to be Jackass Presents Bad Grandpa.
Yes.
I think the name says it all. This is a bunch of dumb people doing dumb things. If I want to see that, I can pull up YouTube for 5 minutes and see somebody get hit in the head with a shopping cart.
Right.
It's not my kind of humor. I think it's a waste of time, waste of film.
Yeah.
Not much else to say.
I have to admit, that's kind of going to be a guilty pleasure of mine.
Oh,
see
no,
the answer on video.
Yeah.
I'll probably give it a bad review. Actually, we probably won't even review it, but I will probably, plunk down the 99 cents to watch it at some point.
That's funny. No, my number one is your number one, Bad Grandpa. It's not my kind of film, like you said. It's not my kind of humor, and it's honestly just not funny to me. Every time I see any film like that, it just feels like there's an occasional laugh, and that's like once every 30 minutes. And the cast and crew are having more fun than I am. And generally when that happens, sometimes that translates well, you know what I mean? But like it's just like it's just like a bunch of frat guys getting together, cracking up inside jokes. This is funny, but it's really not funny. And I know that they're like you said with Medea, there's like a segment of the population that they love it, and obviously some kind of way, like people keep saying, okay, yeah, we want to see another one of these films. But to me, it's one of those films that I'm like, how in the world did they get the red light to do this? At least with nationwide releases, I can understand straight to DVD, but
But enough people would go to theaters.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess it's probably got a pretty small budget there. I mean, what do you need to do stupid stunts?
And I think, that's true. Now, if I'm not wrong, this is the same whole with Johnny Knoxville in the makeup, like he was in the first Jackass, doing the practical jump. Okay. Yeah. I think really after the whole Ryan Dunn's death, and just seeing Bam Margera broken up about that, I think all that it almost was like, all right, we need to grow up and stop doing some of this stuff now. It's been a couple years since then, and I just don't know if the whole Jackass Presents is gonna be kind of like a National Lampoon's, American Pie brand that lasts, So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that was a good conversation, fellas. Our least anticipated films of 2013. So let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about our top 5 most anticipated films of the fall. Stay tuned.